tanker and shutting it down as soon as the liquid stops flowing and having the tanker gas off outside. There's nothing good that comes from air going through the tank. It just puts too much particulates in the air. We talked about PPE. Physical properties. There's nothing of huge import here other than the specific gravity is called relative density here. So 1.18 to 1.4, it's 1.2 right on the button. It's 10 pounds per gallon, 8.34 times 1.2, 10 pounds right on the button. So, I don't know, did we talk about the forklift? I'm starting to lose my brain. If you're used to picking up a 330-gallon tote of water with a 3,000-pound forklift and driving around the yard, that's great. But if you latch on to one of these things with a 3,000-pound forklift, you're going to get it about a foot off the ground and it's going to go bloop. Sulfuric acid, again, keep going back to it. Sulfuric acid, the commercial sulfuric acid that's on the market is 93%, and it's 50% heavier than water. It's almost 16 pounds per gallon, or 15 pounds per gallon, whatever. Totes can weigh 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. Drums are 843 pounds. These drums, obviously, are 550 pounds. But again, if you're used to grabbing onto a 55-gallon drum full of water, and then you grab onto one of these things, there's a significant difference, 20% difference. Let's just go through here. The appearance, I don't know how you explain odor in words, but it does smell like chlorine. Odor threshold, so 0.9 milligrams per cubic meter. So if you take a cubic meter of air and you can somehow inject a little less than 1 milligram, you can smell it. So it's pretty potent stuff. Boiling point is, fairly irrelevant in this case. You'd be running for the hills by the time it got that hot. And back to your plastic tank, a full-on fire in a building with a plastic tank is only going to melt the top off, but depending on how the tank was built and how it reacts to the volume that's in there, if you take the top off a tank, sometimes they just collapse. So, yeah, if there's a big fire and there's if there's a big fire in any chemical storage place, you're headed upwind. Yeah. It's 100% soluble in water. We talked about the things that are going to make it react. We talked about the stability. It goes off exponentially. Toxicological information. This section 11 is how do humans react to exposure to the stuff. You're not going to drink it, but ingestion is going to cost. It's going to cost you a couple of days in the hospital. We'll break it down. Inhaling the vapors is going to give you that same problems that we talked about. It's going to give you upper respiratory irritation. If you were in the environment long enough, it's going to progress to pulmonary edema. Skin and eye contact is going to cause problems. All of these things that we're talking about are acute effects, right? The things that happen immediately upon exposure. Acute. Acute means right then and there. Chronic is down further on this listing. So acute toxicity values, these are some analogs of humans, happen to be rabbits. That is information that engineers use to produce the engineering controls to keep the people safe inside the building. The long-term effects get into this area. Germ cell mutagenicity. So that would be like, what are the chances of reproductive cells, eggs or sperm, being mutated from contact? And of course, it's not classified because it doesn't happen. Like this, you would normally be thinking about some other class of chemicals like PCBs or halogenated hydrocarbons or organic ring structure stuff that's more biologically active, like toluene or xylene, or again, PCBs. That would be something that would be more into this realm. And inorganic compounds typically don't have those issues. Carcinogenicity, there's no information out there in the research that exposure to sodium hypochlorite causes cancer. You know, if somebody did come up with that research, we'd all be in trouble because 90% of the potable water in the country has chlorine in it. Reproductive toxicity is not classified. Again, there's no, according to this SDS sheet, there's no data in the zeitgeist that happens. Specific organ toxicity, where does it settle when it comes in contact with your body? Again, respiratory system, just like we talked about. And aspiration, again, we talked about that. If there's droplets of water in the air, what are the possible problems? It's that pulmonary edema, pneumonia, upper respiratory. So this is essentially telling you why we use specifically sodium hypochlorite. This isn't going to be on the test, you don't need to know this, but LC50, a 96-hour LC50, the way they do the test is they take a bucket full of fish and they add sodium hypochlorite to that bucket full of fish until half of them die in 96 hours. So LC50 is the lethal concentration after 96 hours. In the fish, so that's 5.9, so that'd be 5.9 gallons per million gallons, give or take. So you could put a 5-gallon bucket of bleach in a 1-million-gallon tank and half the fish would die. That's what they're telling you there. What's more importantly in this graphic is a water flea. So a water flea, Cerodaphnia dubia, is a single-celled, soft critter, like a bacteria, and 0.05. So instead of a 5-gallon bucket, you're at 0.05 of a gallon. Will kill half of the bacteria in the 1-million-gallon tank. So this is a powerful piece of information that people should know. But that's why it's a pesticide, because a very, very small concentration will kill single-celled organisms, soft-shelled, what's the word I'm looking for? Single-celled organisms. Bacteria is what we're really looking at. And if you relate it to sodium hydroxide, so sodium hydroxide, these are just components of what was in there. Sodium hydroxide as a component, not as part of the sodium hypochlorite solution. Sodium hydroxide as a component, you can put 40 gallons into a 1-million-gallon tank and only kill half of the critters. The difference there is 1,000-fold. You're not going to dispose of this. You're going to use it. It's a process chemical for you guys. If you have some that is low strength, just use it. Use it at a higher rate. Don't dump it. Don't send it down the drain. Although sending it down the drain here is just sending it back here, right? Yeah, there's the amount of money it costs to dispose of a hazardous chemical is catastrophic. So don't get into that situation. Don't do it. Don't make it a hazardous. Don't make it hazardous waste. It's useful almost until it's on the lawn. There's the potential that it could be taken care of internally. This is the transportation information. This has to be on bills of lading. One of the things I'm going to say about this is, as a citizen of the world, not as an employee of Onondaga County, but as a citizen of the world, you, with a Class D license, can't transport more than 1,000 pounds of sodium hypochlorite in a car down the road without a CDL license and a hazmat rider on that CDL license. Now, I don't know what internally you guys have as a policy, but legally, if you're on the highways and byways of New York State or the United States for that matter, you need a hazmat license to go over 1,000 pounds. What's 1,000 pounds? It's 19 carboys is 1,950, 975 pounds. 19 carboys is what you can put 5-gallon carboys in a car and drive around with, or a truck. If you're over that, like 1 3/4 drums.
We tend to put it into totes, and then we have somebody else move it for us.
Yeah. Even if
Because you can't move placard.
No. But right, you probably have people in your community,
Or community, yeah.
like the DPW.
We have spill contractors we use.
You have DPW people though, probably.
Yeah,
They don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That would go over my head, and then they'd have to coordinate with them. I just
Right.
sorts it out.
Yeah. And you're not going to get caught. People do it all the time. We have customers that come in and load up two pallets of carboys, drive down the road, and I warn them every time. That's not blah blah blah. And you're fine 99% of the time. But as soon as you get an accident, your license is. The only other directive I got was to talk about ferrous sulfate, which is the other product you buy from us. It is used as a coagulant. Coagulants in this specific case are used to coagulate. I'll define that when I get to it. Phosphorus, so it doesn't end up in the lake. I'm not going to give you the spiel on phosphorus, but there's a reason we're removing it. Phosphorus is naturally occurring. It's in ADP, ATP. It's part of the respiratory system of all organisms. It's in every biological system. And as such, it acts as a nutrient and can cause algae bloom. If there's an excessive amount of phosphorus in the lake, it can cause an algae bloom. There's 1,000 different things that can also cause an algae bloom, but the DEC and the EPA in their infinite wisdom has decided to regulate phosphorus. One of the reasons they regulate phosphorus is because we can use coagulants to get it out of wastewater. Phosphorus is soluble in the influent. It comes in at about 4, 5, 6 parts per million. You regulate it down to probably less than 1 part per million on the effluent. The way you can make a soluble product into a solid is called coagulation. If you run soluble phosphorus through the plant, you can run it through a sand filter, a disc filter, you can filter it all you want. If it's soluble, it's still going in the lake. The way you make it into a solid is coagulation. adding ferrous sulfate and adding air, an aeration step, the activated sludge aeration step, you can coagulate the soluble phosphorus. Turns that soluble phosphorus into a particle. And that particle then, with the use of another polymers or coagulants, stick together and they settle out in the clarifiers. They get sucked out into the digesters. The digesters get sucked out into the dewatering system, and then they go out into the dumpster. Right? They get hauled off as a solid instead of going in the lake. Every time I get a conflict with a DEC representative, I give them the spiel. There's 3 places that contaminants, whatever, can go. They're either going into the air, like nitrogen. We nitrify and denitrify, it goes into the air. Doesn't go into the lake, goes into the air. It can go into the stream, or it can go in the dumpster. There's no way to miraculously denature phosphorus into some other compound. The phosphorus that comes in is the exact same amount of phosphorus that goes out. You make the choice. Does it go in the lake or does it go in the dumpster? And the choice is, with a coagulant, put it in the dumpster. As far as chem safety goes, ferrous sulfate is relatively benign. But again, you have to be on your toes at all times. Start right at the top here. I'm going to get done with this in a second. Iron 2 sulfate, nobody uses that. I've been a chemist for 30 years. I've never heard anybody refer to anything as iron 2 sulfate. Or copperas, or FeSO4. It's ferrous sulfate. That's what it is. There's nothing else. If you call it ferrous, there is some ambiguity there because there's ferrous chloride. There's also a bunch of other ferrous things. Ferrous sulfate. Just use the whole word. Everybody will know what's going on. There's no ambiguity. Same information that we had on the other. You'll see that there's much less warning down here. Iron is actually a nutrient in the environment, so it doesn't rise to the same level of hazard as sodium hypochlorite. It is an irritant. You don't want to get it in your eyes, of course. So if we go back up here, it's sold as 5.5% as iron. Again, I don't like these kind of representations because they don't really mean anything. The ferrous sulfate that we send to you has 5.5% as iron. So a gallon of ferrous sulfate that weighs 10 pounds is going to have 0.55 pounds of iron in it. And there are calculations that engineers use to determine how much ferrous sulfate you need per pound of phosphorus as it comes in, and that's why that number exists. But in reality, there's 17% ferrous sulfate in the solution. Again, it's unnecessarily complicated. It's 17% ferrous sulfate. I did think that there was some out of the ordinary firefighting, but I can't remember what it was. It can make sulfur oxides. I don't know that there's anything more. There's nothing different now with the handling and the engineering controls and all the information we talked about on this sodium hypochlorite sheet. Relative density is similar, 1.18, so it's just under 10 pounds per gallon. I don't know why they use relative density. It's another, should be specific gravity.
Right.
There's nothing I can do about it. It is fairly toxic to the environment. what I find is, so this is a very cationic ion in solution. It has a highly positive charge. And what I've been told, and what I see in these ecotoxicity studies, is that the highly positively charged ions in solution have a tendency to stick to the gills of fish. So like, if you look at the dewatering polymer, if you look at the ecotoxicity of the dewatering polymer, it's terrible. It's like this, it's like 0.4, 0.05. Even though it's not hazardous, it's not categorized as hazardous, but the ecotoxicity is terrible because those cationic ions in solution preferentially stick to the gills of fish, kill them. Again, you don't want to release it into the environment if you want to have any, if you have any control over it. Where do your solids go after dewatering?
Biosolids?
Yeah.
Landfill. We're trying to change that.
Yeah.
We used to do it differently.
Did you have an incinerator?
What's that?
Did you have an incinerator?
No, we just call it biosolids and send it out as a soil amendment.
Okay.
That got to be more expensive.
Well, that's.
That's all unofficial, because it's not going on.
Shut that off, will you? No.
I'll delete it out.
A lot of the places are losing their ability to do that because
Because of the PFAS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turns out it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah. I live in the town of Moreau, Saratoga County, and a company, this is off the record, a company came in and they wanted to take in biosolids and kind of incinerate them, get them up to temperature, break down the PFAS, and then sell it as soil amendments, like you said. And they called the company Biochar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, good choice. We want to build a plant called Biochar in the middle of your town. What do you guys think about that? Needless to say, the residents, I didn't give a crap because I live way out in the middle of nowhere, but the people in town didn't think that that was funny. You know, when they started their Facebook group and had the whole community come out and then they bitch about their taxes being too high because there's no businesses in town.
Right.
Whatever. That was my rant for the day. We're gonna eat good? Is that what, I mean, is that what, you don't have to answer that question. If that's the way you're going, don't answer. Don't call it biochar.
No.
Give it some happy, scrappy, lovable pup name, like puppies for freedom.
Right. There we go.
That's what we're gonna call it. Puppies for freedom biosolids.